The Central Bank of Nigeria has carried out a CRR debit on banks despite system liquidity being in a state of repo. Will OMO and T-Bills maturity for next week boost market sentiments? I have Ifeoma Onyejekwe. She's a fixed income trader at UBA. She joins me now for this discussion. Thank you so much for your time today, Ifeoma. But let's get into those CRR debits and the impact we're seeing play out.
Thank you, Kenneth, for having me. Like he rightly says, to a market player surprise, we saw general industry CRR debit today, and the system has been in a repo. Even from last week, when FAC allocation payments page, one would have expected that, it would fill several gaps in the market and bring down market rates from double-digit levels, single-digit levels, but that was not the case. And it wasn't expected today, but we've seen the CBN carry out CRR debit, so would likely open next week with double-digit rates again in the money markets.
Yeah, but how are you assessing the liquidity situation for the rest of the month? Any significant maturities you expected down the line?
Well, it's going to be very strange. Next week, we have OMO maturities of 5 billion on Tuesday, and on Thursday, we also have NTB maturities and an NTB auction on Wednesday of 150.62 billion. But that's not going to be enough to fill the large liquidity needs. We've seen financial institutions be major players in the standing lending facility window as well in the CBN repo window. So we've seen a lot of banks borrow from the CBN. So for the rest of the month, we foresee it being very strained and money market levels remain at ceiling levels of 15%.
But when you look at how sentiments have been this week, how are investors now positioning for the markets going into next week?
Please repeat your question. I didn't hear you.
When you see how the sentiments have been this week, how are investors in the market now positioning for next week?
We've seen very little activity. Most activity has been on CBN special bills and then on some of long-term bonds on the trading with bearing sentiments, and investors don't mind taking losses on CBN special earnings so they can fund for their liquidity. So we've seen very little activity in that space.
But now, looking at the bond market, more or less, and the yield curve expectations, are you expecting to see more sell-side activity play out at the short end or at the belly of the curve then?
Well, we're not really expecting a lot of activities. Most activities have been done in the first half of the year, H1. So going into H2, there will be more calmness in that space.
Right now, but looking at the currency, though, what's your assessment here, especially in the INE window?
Well, we've seen some appreciation to 428 from 430. And then with the news that the World Bank has committed to loan Nigeria $8.5 billion, we will likely see more appreciation in that space.
Yeah, but looking at the catalyst to drive more foreign investor participation in the market, what catalyst do you think could drive that?
Could you please repeat your question?
In terms of the foreign portfolio investors, what catalyst do you think we could drive them back into the market?
I'm not sure. I can't hear you anymore.
All right, what catalyst do you think can drive more foreign portfolio investors back into the market here in Nigeria?
Well, positive news from the CBN. We've seen that last week they have, rightly stated that Nigeria is not going to devalue its currency, and more, positive news from that space will likely drive foreign portfolio investors back to the country.